Yeah, we're ready to go. It's been kind of a weird week with the weather and not having a chance to be outside yet. But this team is used to handling weird things and weather or days off or taking a trip. I don't think it's really going to phase them. I thought our work the last couple of days in the batting cage has been really good. I thought our defensive work, who I work with the infield, was really good as well here today. So we'll hopefully the rain will stop. We'll get an hour on the field tomorrow, just to try to get some work in. It's a normal practice for us on a late game to get the kids, whether we're at home or whether we're on the road to go to the opposing place and hit and do some stuff. So we'll take advantage of that tomorrow as well, and just to make sure they're getting out of bed and doing the things that they're gonna do, get them a good pregame meal, and then looking forward to an amazing crowd and an amazing environment for the next couple days.
What is the preparation in terms of how much effort do you put into trying to get to know Clemson? Because I'm guessing you have a lot of time compared to a typical situation.
Yeah.
So what does that kind of look like?
I mean, I personally watched the first night. I watched just a little bit. Like after we'd won, I went home and I kind of put my computer in my lap and was watching the Texas game. I was kind of watching that and just getting, like, the first thing I do is I watch their hitters. I watch who bunts, who slaps, kind of. Is it one of their first at-bats? Is it any at-bat? You know, a lot of kids do the same. They fall into routine, so maybe you can pick something up there. But it's always good. When I'm helping place the defense, I always want to know who those hitters are that are kind of those threats to run or do some things. So I watched that the first night. I watched Cagle and the other lefty the second day, just kind of familiarizing myself with them and then kind of watch their hitters. We have a system called Synergy, and I like to go in there and just watch all their hard hits. I want to know when they look good, what does it look like? Where were the pitches, that kind of stuff. I know John's doing the same thing, Jeff's doing the same thing, Vanessa's doing the same thing. Whitney's helping us get stuff broke down if we need all that, or getting film stuff. So we kind of have our own little routines, and then we get together and talk about a little bit of a game plan. We had a little discussion if she's throwing curves and screws, or are they just drops that she's making have curve spin and gets inside the ball, and the balls that look like they drop and screws. So we just kind of had a good, healthy discussion there on what we think that was. But that's kind of the way we go. And then our girls have watched a little bit of video on their pitchers twice. I just still not convinced that smoking them with video is the best thing. I think a lot of times we start getting defensive when we're worried about what the other team does, instead of making sure that we've got the emergency break off and we're just doing what we do best. And I think if we can do what we do best, we'll play well.
Kelly had mentioned a few weeks back the difference she felt with a super regional here versus when you guys went to Florida State. How much does that value extend into this week? You're getting to prep here and then getting to play here tomorrow night and Friday.
Yeah, I think, that first one at Florida State, we didn't really care. We were just pumped, right? We got to go, and we couldn't wait to get on that charter flight and go and make all that stuff happen. Now it's like it's really cool the last couple of years having it here and being able to just enjoy home, enjoy your own bed, not having to travel. These kids have traveled a lot. And I think there's also value in traveling, but it's also nice to be at home knowing that our home field advantage, just like Clemson's. Clemson has a really good home field advantage. I knew Clemson would be able to, when they hired John, I knew they would be good. But I knew because of their baseball that they would be able to draw to softball as well, like we are here. That's one of the most attractive things. So having these fans that understand our sport, playing here, knowing it's going to be crazy, knowing that it's late so they can tailgate all day long makes me happy.
You seemed aware in Oklahoma City of all the eyes that were on that title game. To have a home crowd here, 2 games on ESPN in front of this group and at this stadium, what does that do for you guys, or what could it do?
Well, I think it just continues to build our brand. It continues to be the reason why we are very attractive to transfers, to recruits, to anyone. You just see what's going on here, and think I'm gonna stop trying to explain what it's like here. You just have to trust us and come here and check it out. There's a reason people keep coming here and going, man, this is cool, and this is different, and it's hard to explain, but it's really neat, and I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at on that. Hope I answered that right.
Even knowing what John brought to that program at Clemson, are you all surprised that a program can go from nothing to this as quickly as they have?
When you have Valerie Cagle, you can be good. You know what I mean? And then they've added depth. You know, they've added others. And honestly, John did a really nice job of finding her. I don't remember the story exactly, but I don't think she was committed to Clemson at first. I think she may have been committed somewhere else and decommitted and changed. I think that's the story. You have to ask him. But something like she wasn't like a crazily highly recruited kid that I remember. And John's done a really nice job, his staff, with her. And then this is the evolution of kids. I mean, kids blossom when it's their time. We try to force all that stuff, but really it just happens when it's their time. And so when you get an elite arm, like you guys have seen here, when we got Shao, it kind of changed the face of this program just a little bit. And then you see the Eberleys and you see the Maxwells. And when you have elite arms, you can win any game. And you still have to hit and play catch and make plays and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not surprised. He's recruited, he may have recruited one of the best players of all time in Jess Mendoza. So he knows what good looks like. And his experience is why I think that Clemson made a really good hire.
Who do you think's a bigger fan of OSU softball, Mike Boynton or Bernard Kula?
I think Mike Boynton. No, I'm pretty sure. But I think that Kuma's probably a real big fan. Yeah.
How Bernie got so in?
I don't know, but when he walks in our office, he scares me because I think he's going to hit his head on the ceiling every time. I'm like, are you all right? He's like, yeah, man, I just have to duck when I go in. I'm like, that's awesome. So, I just told you I'm going to quit explaining what makes this place awesome, right? Well, that's why. I mean, we have a pretty open door. Like, I don't really mind who walks in. Just as long as they're respectful and they understand, hey, we're trying to do our job here and all that. But it's cool that he just kind of comes in and just hangs out. And I think that tells you a lot about Coach Boynton, too. I mean, I think he's probably encouraging those guys to be around and be seen and be a part of what this place is. And that's why I think I believe that Mike is going to be uber successful here. I think, like I said, it takes time. He's been dealt some horrible cards. He just keeps grinding, and things just keep incrementally getting better. Guys like that, you know what I mean? Kuma's just a cool dude. He's just, I like talking to him. It's an interesting cat. He should probably be the Dos Equis guy. Most interesting guy on earth. So,
I know you talked throughout the year that you guys, you're not the chased, but when you get to the postseason, I mean, is it starting to become more and more expected to host regionals and to host supers and to make your way back to Oklahoma City?
I think that's our expectation inside. I wouldn't want it any other way. It was my expectation the first year to go to a regional. I didn't know how. I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried at times, and I wasn't worried about me. I was worried about I committed to those kids that we were going to be successful. So in their minds, success was getting to a regional. I have a bigger, at 43 at that time, I had a bigger picture of what success is, right? And I know that through my experiences up to that time that success comes in a lot of ways, and it looks different to many people. But getting that team getting us to postseason in the first year, man, that was crazy. And then to be the number 2 seed at Georgia validated our schedule. When people said your schedule is way too hard, and I'm like, I don't care. If we're going to have any chance to get to a regional, might as well have to play the schedule now, and we're going to set the standard now. This is the way we're going to schedule. Those guys handled that. I mean, we barely were over 500, and we forced Georgia to an if game. And if we catch a foul ball in fair territory at first base, we may still be playing because we probably wouldn't have scored. But I don't know that they were going to score, right? It was wild. We just couldn't score. Expectation, yeah, I guess. I mean, I think that's the expectation of our fans. I mean, you know, I kind of hear things out and about. I'm kind of trying to remind everybody, hey, these are important, like all of them, right? They're like, we're all the same. And I don't want anybody to get bored with success because it's not easy. And winning, we should not get bored with. That's why I have our girls run out to the wall, and that's the expectation now, because winning is hard. And I learned that from a guy named Bob Stoops. And when they started taking pictures after big games, and he used to make some other schools in the conference mad. He's like, I don't really care what those guys think. What I care about is that we celebrate wins. It's a big deal. Winning is really hard. And that always stuck in my head. Like, ooh, I got to hear a lot of his post-game, pre-game things. I heard them all. I used to just make sure I was in there. And to hear all that stuff was valuable info to me now. Things that kind of come back to me in weird times. And I'm like, ooh, I remember that now. I'm going to use that. And it's just kind of cool. So I guess I was banking stuff, not knowing I was going to be a head softball coach. I can promise you that. That'd be a lie. Been around some great people and what expectations are and what they look like and how hard they are to achieve. That's why we got to continue to celebrate the little things and make sure that those are important to our kids.
When Kelly was in here the other night after the game, she talked about how she added the changeup in the fall and how that had changed it. Is that unique to have a pitcher add to the repertoire and then seem to have pretty good mastery of it so quickly, or is that common?
I think what you find is Kelly's a kid that can, like if you said, okay, throw this fastball, and she throws the fastball, and you said, okay, that fastball was 66, throw it at 63. She could throw it probably right around there, and it's a crazy feel that some kids have. There are other really talented kids that would throw it at 66, and you said, okay, throw it at 63, and it was 68. And you're like, what just happened? Like, they don't have feel. Kelly has feel. So John's got a plan, and the plan is, okay, we're going to get you through this year with 2. We're going to master 2. Next year, Kelly, as you become the ace, you're going to have a third pitch. So they tinkered around for a couple months trying to find the right changeup. And there are many ways to throw that pitch. They're going to have another wrinkle for next year because you can't continue to do the same thing over and over again. You've got to evolve. And so whether it's tunneling the pitches differently, whether it's coming up with maybe a changeup she throws, instead of throwing it at 55, she throws it at 59. It's a big change. That gives you another speed. Same pitch, looks the same, just a hair harder. And so I don't know. I haven't really talked to John yet about what he's thinking about next year. We've just been so crazy with this year. But he'll have something new for her to be working on, to be thinking about. Still want to be able to throw those top 3 at any time. And then hopefully starting to develop something off of one of those 3, whether it's, I don't know, but something. So it's cool. It's really helped her. It's really, really helped her. It's been really cool to see. And when we're recruiting and we get to work with kids in camps, that's one of the first things that I know John does is ask them to do some different things to see, first off, what their reaction is, and second off, what their feel is. And when he finds a kid that's like, oh, okay, And then you go, oh, whoa, you go, oh, that's a kid we could want, right? That she would fit us here. So that's part of the recruiting process for us. But getting back to your question, I guess, I don't know that it's uncommon, but I don't know that it's that anybody can make it happen. So a lot of kids are just like, hey, I don't want to do that. I mean, Carrie had a hard time wanting to throw her off speed here. Okay, and she didn't throw it until we played OU here in a game, like a lot. And then she got into pro ball, and I was like watching her pitch, and I was like, my gosh, she's throwing this off speed like all the time. And she was just like, I had to, the hitters. And I was like, and then she said, I didn't want to throw it here because I didn't need it until the very end. So I didn't want to ever get beat on my secondary stuff. I wanted them to have to beat my best. And so it's kind of a unique way to look at things. But all of them have to evolve. If Kelly's going to play pro ball, she's going to have to get better. Like, it's just these hitters they're really good.
From year one to now, I mean, you said the standard was there from the start, but have any of the expectations changed as you look at potentially 3 straight College World Series appearances?
I think they do evolve. I think you reassess standards, and I think standards are pretty set in stone. But I also think that some things kind of you have to evolve as a coach. Like, I had a no tattoo policy my first year here, no visible. Then Logan Simonek shows up with a sleeve, like in the middle of a year, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, and she's like, "Well, I know I have to wear a sleeve," and I'm like, "So you got that to wear a sleeve over your sleeve?" And she's like, "Yeah, I don't care." And so I said, "Do you think you're tough enough to pitch with that? Like, are you trying to make people think you're tougher or what?" She goes, "No, I'm tough enough." I said, "Well, pitch like it, and I'll let you take hit off." And she did. So that standard kind of evolved, and so I think good programs evolve. They change with the times. I think you still have your pillars that you rest on. That's the foundational piece. But I think you can evolve things some. And I think if you want to stay relevant with these kids, I think that's important too. You have to understand. To me, this is a two-way deal. Like I look at like OU. They probably do the best job of. They don't really give in on anything. Okay. But you better win at their level, or I think it can get really hard. You know what I mean? And so I envious of what they do, in that way. But I also think there's a way to do things our own way and go, it's pretty cool. And kids want to be a part of that, and you can be the best version of you and be who you want to be as long as you're respectful to everybody else.
Where else have you evolved? I know even like the loud dugout antics isn't exactly your style, but where else have you had to maybe change?
I don't know. I've probably gotten a little softer, you know what I mean? And I think in some regards it's hurt us. In some regards it's helped us. I think I've evolved. Probably the biggest thing I've done is I'm letting my assistants do their job fully. Taking more, like I think I got in when I got here. I was like I'm the people guy, I'm the relationship guy, and I got here. I was trying to do that, and then do the hitting and do the defense, and do all this stuff, and you just in recruiting and control everything, and I'm not a control freak, but just really like having my hands on everything, and I just got myself worn down. And I just remember going, man, if I keep going like this, there's no way I could do this for a long time. It's just too much. And then I just through kind of my life coach, Brett Ledbetter, I was able to kind of let go of things. Say, hey, you hired these people to do a job. Let them do a job, and be good at what you do. And I was kind of griping to him that I kind of lost the relationship part. I wasn't the main guy anymore. It was the assistants, and I was like, I hate it. Like, I don't like this. This is not what I wanted to do in coaching. I want to be that guy that they come to and talk to and trust. And I started feeling a different vibe. And he said, "You can't do everything. Do what you're good at. Let your people do their job." So I've evolved in letting people, trusting people, letting them make decisions. Hey, you can't call me on every single thing. Like, just make the decision. Jesse Martin here, he'll call me and say, "Hey, if you're mad, be mad at me. You weren't here. I needed to make this decision." I'm like, "I wasn't here. Go ahead." He said, "Do you like it?" "No, but you made the decision, so go." So I'm good. You know what I mean? So I can't be mad. And that's been a hard thing when you're trying to control everything. So I think I've just gotten better personally. You know, my wife has really helped me too, just with a different perspective on things. It helps me get away and do some things. I've never have gone on vacations, like real ones, until I met her, and now it's like, can't wait. You know what I mean? It's like I can't wait to get there. You know, obviously I can wait, but I know that that's coming, and I can't wait. And I'll get away, and I know that kind of stuff. So just personally getting better here, but I think foundationally the team and stuff is pretty solid and pretty set.
What has this week been like? Either one of you that wants to answer. It's a really big week, but you got a bunch of rain you're dealing with, weird practice schedules, things like that. What's it been like?
Yeah, I mean, this is stuff that we go through all year. You know, Oklahoma, the weather is very unpredictable, so we're kind of used to the weather and stuff. And we've also been into Super Regionals week, especially at home at hosting. So that's really big, staying at home and keeping our routine as consistent as we can, especially when you're dealing with things like the weather and stuff, and just trying to keep us and our team as normal as possible. So it's an exciting week, but it has felt a little bit weird. Energy's a little different when you have to deal with the rain and the weather and everything like that. But we're just staying focused and gearing up to beat Clemson. Tongue's a little tingled today.
What have you seen from Clemson? I don't know how much you've gotten to look at them, but what have you seen from them?
Well, we watched a little bit of their pictures, we watched film and stuff, and I've watched a couple of their games in regionals and just in the ACC tournament. So I know they're a really good team, and I know if we play our best, we're gonna be just fine.
Yeah, we've watched film on both their pitchers, so just kind of preparing for those. We're not a overly analytical group. We just focus on playing our game, and we play softball and they play us. So that's the mentality that we're taking into this weekend.
Carly, how close was this team to its best in the regionals? Is there anywhere you think you need to get better at this weekend?
I think we're just still getting better day by day, and I think that sometimes it's different with regionals, and it can be more anxious comes supers and stuff. I feel like we've been playing, our pitchers have been great, our hitting's been doing well, being very consistent. So I feel like if we just take our same approach to the regionals as in supers, we're gonna be just fine no matter who we're playing.
Is hosting a super regional, is it becoming an expectation, or is it the expectation now?
I think I'd say it's the expectation. I think last year we set that expectation, and so we just continue to work our butts off to get there and meet that expectation every year, because it's a big deal. I mean, I saw something out there that was the road to a national championship doesn't cross state lines, and that's really cool to me, to see the growth of this program, and the fact that we never have to travel farther than an hour in postseason is really cool. We get home field advantage, with our fans and stuff. Our crowds are incredible. They always show out. And so I'd say that it's the standard because, it's what we've worked for, and you've seen us meet that standard every year, or continue to meet that standard every year.
At what point do you guys feel that Oklahoma City is the standard and expected every single year? You feel you're there now, or?
I'd say we're there now, yeah. I mean, once that first team went, what year was that, 19? Yeah. once that first team went, I think that was the year that we're going, and it was kind of like we still were unsure, right? That's our first year in like a decade that we'd been or something like that. But after that, I think that year really changed our mentality as a program, like we're capable of this. And so we set that standard every year that the World Series is our end goal, and not just getting there anymore, it's winning a national championship. And so you're starting to see those changes, those steps being taken to meet that goal.
What are some of those changes?
Yeah, just working on mentality, playing our game, taking our level of competition to every team that we play, every weekend, one pitch at a time, and not looking too big. You can't win a national championship this weekend, so you got to win our next game. Our next game's the most important game, and just really like having that brown bag mentality that we have here, and staying within ourselves even as we become a more successful program, remembering who Oklahoma State softball is.
Kenny talked about those expectations and how he's changed from 2019 to now. How have you seen Kenny change in terms of mindset and mentality and all that stuff?
Yeah,
I mean, I wasn't here in the 19. That was my coming into the fall. So coming to a team that did go to the World Series for the first time, you could see like a little bit of the mindset change. Like now it's like I know that our team is capable of just keeping that standard, but I feel like his goals and his mindset hasn't changed a lot over time, just because he still has that same mindset of like, I mean, anyone can beat you at any time, so you have to play your best. Like no one's too big or anything, so you have to keep playing your best to continuing what you want to do to get to the national championship or whatever that is.
Chelsea, where did you see that sign that was that road to the national championship doesn't cross state line?
It was a tweet. I don't remember who saw it. I just saw it on Twitter, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Last weekend or?
Yeah, it was like around Selection Show Sunday that somebody put that out. I wish I could remember who now that I'm talking about it and give them credit. But, yeah, I don't remember. It was just a tweet that I saw on our selection show when we were top 8 team. So.
You mentioned like 2019 was like you thought you had the team, but there was still that feeling like we have to get there. Now that you're 2 wins away from a third straight trip, how do those feelings change with the mentality?
Yeah, it's weird. I think about, like, in the fall, I thought about a lot of how far this program has come and kind of how I've seen both sides of it. And I'm one of the last few kids, my class, Sydney and Michela, that we were here for the start. We were here for the Coach G that used to yell at us if our socks didn't match. And so you've seen him kind of grow and give us more that we've earned over the years. And so, like I said, that mentality is just knowing, not getting too good for what Oklahoma State softball is. I think as you become a more successful program and you start to go to World Series back-to-back and people are watching you, you can kind of get like, yeah, we're pretty good, and feel good about yourselves and let off a little bit. And I think we've seen that this year. Not that we've let off, but we struggled this year, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And we're starting to play our best softball now, which is when you want to play your best softball, so that's really cool. But it's just finding that mentality that we had 5 years ago, like my freshman year, that we represent Oklahoma State and we play with a chip on our shoulder, and that mentality doesn't change just because we're hoping to go to the World Series for the 3rd time in a row. And I think that if we can keep that mentality that we had to get us to this point, as we continue our success, then this program will be good for a really long time. So it's exciting to be a part of.
And he just sat here and he admitted he's softened a little bit. I mean, he used to have a tattoo policy that I hadn't heard of. How have you seen him either evolve or kind of soften up these last few years as you guys have found that success? Yeah,
I mean, it's hard when you get better, and each team, we had a talk probably a month ago or something, and he's like, he took ownership and said, like, I have to make every team earn. You don't get what last year's team earned. And it's hard because you're a continuing program, you know. It's easy to just give that next team, like, okay, well, this team earned this, and they respected that because they earned it, and then you give it to the next year's team. And when you have such a new team that didn't go through the trials and, you know, the work that team took to get there, it's easy to just take what we're given for granted. And so I think he did get a little bit soft, I'm not going to lie. But even the tattoo policy, the reason he changed it is Logan Simonek. He was like, if you're going to have that sleeve, she went and got this huge sleeve when we had a tattoo policy, right? And he's like, you got to cover it. You got to cover it. And then he was finally like kind of told her, if you're going to have that and you want to show it, you're going to play, you're going to pitch like that. Like you're a badass with a sleeve on your arm. And she did. And she earned that. And so it's really cool. It's not that the policies are changing. It's continuing to respect what we're given every year. And I think he's kind of figuring that out. I mean, it's difficult when you want to continue to give your girls things that we've earned. And I've been here every year. I've earned it, but I have no problem re-earning it every year if that's what it takes for this year's team to be the most successful.
Carly, what has been the key, when you're not getting regular at-bats in games, what's the key to staying fresh and being able to step in and be comfortable at the plate?
I think it's just going in with a mindset of like when I do, like, no, I might get at bat, just watching the pitcher or listening to what my teammates have to say and always being into the game 100%, like always cheering my teammates on, listening to what the pitcher's doing or listening to how they're throwing each individual and just going up there with like a confidence, like, you know what, I'm going to get up there. I need to help my team out. I'm going to do my best I can. And if that is I get a hit or I know I went up to bat with the best, being prepared as much as I could, no matter what. So it's hard sometimes knowing, like, going up into pinch hit's really hard, and I know it's one of the hardest things I've done. But I know that my team has my back, and I know if I can do it for them, then I can do it anyway.
And she's done a great job at it this year, especially late, so it's really cool to see.
What challenges does an 8 o'clock and like an 8:30 o'clock start time present?
Well, you have to get the field at like 5, so it's dinners. I'm just kidding. It's just the waiting. I feel like sometimes I get like so amped up for games, I'm like I'm ready to play. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, well, I still got several more hours to go. I think it's just like the waiting and the anticipation of the game, and that's the way. But I feel like we're gonna be ready no matter what. So.
It's good that we played in a couple late games. Was I think Florida State was a later game. OU was supposed to be a late game. Regionals was kind of later. So that's good. I know it's like an hour from my bedtime, so I'm going to have to take a nap earlier in the day or something because it is late. But, yeah, I think she's right. Just waiting for that game time all day and just having to keep yourself focused all day instead of just being able to kind of wake up, get ready, and go play. You got to stay locked in. So that's going to be the biggest challenge. But luckily, like I said, we've played those later games, so I don't think it's anything that we can't handle.
Anything else for these two?